This is episode number 11 of the Feed Me, Fuel Me podcast. Welcome to the Feed Me, Fuel Me podcast. My name is Jeff Thornton, tech entrepreneur and fitness enthusiast, alongside Michael Anders and Jason Sani. Each week we bring you an inspiring person or message related to our 4 pillars of success: manifestation, business, fitness, and nutrition. Thank you for allowing us to join you on your journey. Now let's get started.
Episode 11, Feed Me, Fuel Me. What's going on, guys? This is Mike Anders here with Jason and Jeff.
What up?
And, yeah, I can't believe we're 11 episodes in already.
No, 11 deep, son.
Feels good.
Man.
Thank you for the support that's out there. We were just talking about, just being reached out by multiple people. I can speak, for myself of just people that I had no idea were even listening and just said thank you, or they took something from it. And it's like, that's just a reminder of why we're doing this, is just to share any sort of experience and advice, and we're open for opinions of different subjects to talk about or people to have on. So, thank you for all that support.
Real quick before we dive into this thing, what's the coolest thing that you heard so far? What's the biggest thing that somebody's told you about the show?
But you said that it's I think helped them plan out, be more resourceful, get stuff done. I think the whole idea of getting over the idea of waiting and so from experience, and then the network thing, actually, that was really powerful. Is the importance of surrounding yourself with people that are getting stuff done. Because a lot of times we forget to that. Some people try to do too much stuff on their own. So I thought that was cool that people said the importance of being around people that have done it. Mentors. It was the big mentoring thing that made a lot of sense. And it was and it's cool when you hear other people's perspectives of what helped them, because it makes it sink in that much more to you.
True.
How about you, or Jeff?
Mine was, I guess a woman hit me up and said she started her own business. Made a leap.
Yeah.
As far as finally deciding to follow her passion instead of just going through the day to day.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Touching.
Dope.
Would you? Yeah.
For me, probably the biggest thing, because the people that are always going to say kind things, and kind of reinforce your passions. Not that and I'm not downplaying that whatsoever, but I've had a number of complete strangers reach out to me because I'm dabbling more and more in the LinkedIn platform.
Yep.
So a lot of professionals in and outside of our respective industries have reached out to me and let me know how powerful our message is, both from the corporate America turned entrepreneur standpoint to and also from a dealing with your own shit and getting out of your own way.
Yep.
I think I received a lot of positive feedback about people just acknowledging whatever demons they may be working against, and just kind of now hitting their stride in life and really acknowledging and being aware of what it is they're truly passionate about, and catering their daily efforts to their creative genius and kind of streamlining their life. So I've got a lot of positive feedback about that.
That's hot.
I like that.
And so to that point, today we're going to talk about deadlines and the importance of having them, because without deadlines, your feet aren't held to the fire, and you'll lull yourself to sleep with inaction and waiting until you're quote unquote ready or the circumstances are just right.
There is no tomorrow.
There is no perfect time.
Yeah,
true.
And I can honestly speak to this both as a business owner and a new father. You'll never have everything in place that you would feel to be ideal to pull the trigger. I don't feel like Nicole and I will ever make enough money, have a big enough house, drive a nice enough car for what we truly want for Tristan. I just feel like that's an absolute impossibility, right? And I feel like the people that are waiting for those circumstances are only putting themselves further and further and further behind the power curve. Not saying that you should start when you're not ready, but there's a space in there where you've got enough of your shit together to do it. You're equipped with enough information and enough resources to just do it. And when you're in that space, it's important that you realize that, and then you set deadlines that are in line with those goals. Otherwise, you just kind of sit on your hands and nothing ever happens. And then the next thing you know, you're 45 years old and haven't done shit, and you wonder where all that time went.
That's so depressing to think about. But, I mean, and to add to that, the reverse engineering process, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, you want to make sure you're ready, but at the same time, like, look ahead at a time about setting a deadline and let the power of rising to the expectations at least guide you. You know, yeah, you're going to get some speed bumps. If you mess up, that's a lesson learned and so on. But it's like, you know, we talk about it all the time, and maybe people think it's cliche, but it's like the humans are designed to live outside of their comfort zone, to get them to grow, to get them to experience, and that creates the energy. And something I can personally speak to, you don't always feel like it. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you have a deadline, you might resent it sometimes, like, oh, I got to do this, this, and that. But it's something that I've battled with a lot. It's like I know there's things that I need to do, but I don't know if I feel like them. If that's happening all the time, that maybe means that you're working on the wrong things. But if it's something you truly know you're passionate about, you have to realize that sometimes those feelings are going to come after the actions. Once you get started, you go. And if you have a deadline, you know, like this is something I'm working on. You know, maybe it's a month out or a year out, whatever the case is. Those feelings will come when you start to realize like why you're doing it. And it's same thing. Like if you can do some creative writing in the morning, or if you know you just need to get a project done to get ahead for work, or maybe you're working for somebody else right now, and it's like, you want to, overperform so you can stand out or get your job done to get noticed. It's like you might not always feel like that, but by doing it, and there's studies that show this, that those feelings will start to come as you go. And that's where the deadline is extremely powerful, is by doing something, you'll realize the importance of that, and you'll continue to do that. And that happens to me a lot. And then it's like momentum. And that's the cycle that once you just scratch something off the list, that's why it's, you have a goal of getting something done before 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. or whatever. And it's like once you hit that, you catch your stride, you keep going, and you're in a better mood. And I guarantee if you anytime we take pride in achieving little goals, and I've talked about like the whole Pac-Man metaphor, you know what I mean? He's eating the little things, he eats a big one, he's got this crazy amount of energy, and it's like, that's fuel for you, and you get to be in control of that by setting yourself up and kind of committing to something ahead of time.
That's true. And the thing about setting deadlines is, I believe in setting aggressive deadlines personally. And what I mean by that is, anything, say you have a big project that you have to complete, I only give myself 3 months or 6 months, and that's it. Because anything longer than that, you're just lying to yourself. If you say it's going to take a year to complete, it's sort of like you're just delaying that process, because we've all been there to where, in school, for instance, where you have this 18-page paper due at the and you wait till the last moment, you procrastinate. You knew you had a whole month to do it, or a whole semester, but you wait until that last month or those last weeks to complete that. But a magical thing happens when you have that deadline of, okay, this is the drop dead date where you have to turn this paper in. Wow, how magical did you complete this 18-page paper? You may have done it that night before or the week before, but it got done because you knew you had that deadline.
Yep.
But I've seen a lot of times where you say there's this huge project due at the end of the semester. A lot of people wait until the end of the semester to start working on that, right? So if you set yourself up with aggressive deadlines, you can get things done a lot faster than you think you can get them done. It may stress some people out, but I found that by putting that sort of stress on myself, I've been able to achieve a lot more, a lot faster than I expected.
And then how do you feel when you get that stuff done too? You know what I mean? Like, think about the last deadline that you put out there, or your last project you got done, and when you turn it in, it's a sigh of relief. It's like weight that's lifted off your shoulders, and then you can fly. But it's like really cool to think about, and you have to weigh that reward again. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like weigh it out of what's the price, or how good is it going to feel, the reward, if you do that, and you really got to kind of try to attach yourself to those feelings, compared to what's it going to feel like if you don't do it and you're left without it, the feeling of resentment, the feeling of being 45 and not doing anything that you wanted to do, or so on. And you have to weigh those things out because they're real. And it's like if you can make a connection with those types of feelings, it's super powerful, and it's enough to get you started to map something out there. And why not? You know what I mean? What are you waiting for?
Right. You know, this month, actually, on the 1st, I put out my first book. It's called The Manifestation of Affirmation. And I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of blogging and stuff like that. But it's the first time I've ever made a deliberate attempt at a book. And it was an extremely daunting task. Something I wouldn't necessarily say I was totally prepared for. But when I made it a goal of mine, you know, just like you said, Jeff, I made a very aggressive goal because I had the context there, and I had plenty of previously generated content that just hadn't been consolidated just yet. And so I wrote the book in 90 days, and it was extremely taxing, and there were a lot of days where I only got 2 sentences done, and then there were other days where I got 2, 3, 4 chapters out of the way. And it's just going to be like that. But come August 1st, it was ready to go and out there for the world to digest. And the feeling I got pushing that publish button was more gratifying than any of the pain and just mentally arduous days I had putting the book together. And so if you can be forward thinking enough and really talk yourself into getting it done, when it's over, you'll be in a space where I can look back on that experience and know that I'm extremely proud of the product that was a result, but also I'm glad that I gave myself that deadline, because had it been a day longer, I wouldn't have done it.
That's powerful. That's powerful, and that's a question I like to ask strangers or people that I know. It's like, what are you most proud of the last year, last 2 years, or last 6 months or whatever? And it's like, ask yourself that. Like, close your eyes and ponder right now and say, what can you be in a conversation and take a lot of pride in? And that should make you feel a little uncomfortable, and like put that into action. And the next question with that is, okay, so you said you put that deadline somewhat. How accurate with that were you with that? And did you break that down into kind of like fractions to make it seem more realistic? Like, how did your expectations of what you wanted to do meet up with the outcome?
Actually, because I know what I'm capable of as a writer, because I write that much. I was very in tune with the volume of content that was going into the book, as the context of it is a 30-day process. So, that 90 days was an adequate enough window where life could get in the way and I could still be on target, but at the same time, it was a condensed enough window that I had to take steady action day by day, just to keep it at the forefront of my priority list. And that's kind of what deadlines do for you, is they keep your priorities, and they kind of allow you to eliminate stuff that doesn't matter until that task is completed.
Keep the main thing. Yeah.
Right. And so for me, it was, very, very realistic, but at the same time, it forced me to keep my feet to the fire and get it done. At no point when I was writing that book was I ever like coasting. I'm talking about up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, putting pen to pad, hacking away at the keyboard, getting stuff done. And, it can be a very stressful process, but when it's all said and done, it's a process that I'm happy that I went through. But it's like that in anything, be it, writing that book or, preparing for a football game or a race. There's a lot of shit that goes into, getting under the Friday night lights that you don't want to do. and you're not in love with it every single day. And there are days where it feels like work. And then all of a sudden, those lights go up, the whistle blows, and that kickoff goes. And it's like, okay, now you're in the moment. Now you're reaping the benefits of all that work and all that suck and everything that all the detail that you don't necessarily correlate with a good time. And it all manifests into something extremely rewarding and extremely positive. And you turn that distress you go through all that potential distress, for, a very short moment of eustress.
It's powerful. And you remember why you're doing it. You know what I mean? I was just, as you were explaining it, the whole time I was thinking about it, it's like you remember why, when the lights come on. And that's what makes it all worth it, and that's what makes your next challenge that you do or your next deadline that you set that much more valuable. Mm-hmm. And it's like you really have to find something. And it's like that. What I had mentioned was, what are you most proud of the last 6 months? What are you let's just keep it there, the last year. Mm-hmm. And what are you going to be the most proud of the next 6 months, next year, and maybe next 5 years? Because 5 years and that's way ahead of time. You don't need to set a deadline there, but just think about. That's enough time to make some massive changes in your life. But if you can think about what are you going to be most proud of in the next 6 months, what is it going to be? Like, or are you just going to wait 6 months until you think that there's some like perfect time, and there's not. Things that happen, people get sick, there's accidents, there's unexpected, all kinds of things, So it's like set some meaningful deadlines that are meaningful, that have meaning to you, that you're going to be proud about, that you are going to be proud about, and not just your peers or the people around you are going to be proud about. Like, what's something that you're the one that gets to live with it. You're the one that gets to wake up with whatever you do. And it's like, if you're doing it just to impress other people or keep your parents happy and finish school or go get this ideal job, that's not going to have as much meaning to you. Yeah, there's a sense of pride and people will respect that somewhat, but it's like you have to set these deadlines to things that you are going to take pride for. That that's how it's going to build the more confidence in yourself and more self-awareness. And that's what life's, in my opinion, that's what life is about, is making sure that if you're going to enjoy this ride, you got to be making sure that you know what you're doing and that it has meaning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think it's helpful, man. Even with deadlines, say like you're stuck in doing something you hate, because I think every day I do something I just purely just hate, right?
Mm. Like,
but it just depends, day-to-day task.
What do you hate, Jeff Thornton?
Oh man,
tell me today what
you go on stuff with projects that you just wake up and like, man, I have to deal with meeting. I have to program this. Like, there's stuff I do every day that I don't want to do, but I know my goal is I know where I want to finish. I know the finish line, right? So I'm willing to do the stuff I hate every single day because I know what I'm going to be. I know what the reward's going to be at the end. So no matter how long that takes, I've gotten comfortable with putting myself in situations like, yeah, this may not be the most enjoyable thing I'm going to do, but this is going to make me get closer to my end goal, whatever it may be, whatever that goal is. It's part of, for me, it's made myself like every day making myself really uncomfortable in no matter what situation it is. So if it's like to get to that pleasure point of like, oh, I know I want to do this, but just to get to that pleasure point, I know I have to go through all of this pain just to get to, like you said, to get to those Friday night lights or whatever, just to sum it up.
So here's a question for you, because I think you have a very relatable story to our audience as you make that transition away from the corporate side to the entrepreneur side. Especially with everything that you're doing with your vlog and Snapchat and stuff like that, which are projects of passion. Mm-hmm. Are there elements of those pursuits that you would rather not do, but ultimately it's the result, the vlog, your Snapchat following, the content that's ultimately generated that makes it worth it? But there's parts to get to that point. There's stuff that you don't necessarily enjoy or don't necessarily feel like doing, but has to be done to generate that feeling of gratification. Right?
Every day you have to edit every single day. Mm-hmm. So it's easy to shoot the footage, pick your camera up, start talking into it. But I know every single night, once that vlog is done, I have to sit there and scrub through hours of footage every single night. So it's either I say, okay, this vlog's not going to be up in the morning, or and I get some good rest, or I stay up tonight and I just grind it out, because it's more beneficial for me to, let's set off the rest, delay the rest, delay the instant gratification right now, and then jump into something I'm not liking. Well, I start editing. Mm-hmm. It's not something I want to do every single night, but once I start doing it, it becomes relaxing to me. Mm-hmm. I start enjoying that process, because I know by the time that video goes up, I have a clean, finished product that I say, okay, that was a fun day.
Yeah.
It wraps my whole thing up. But every single day, it's like, I don't want to sit there and edit a video 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, when you could be sleeping, you could be getting rest, right? But I mean, that's just what you have to go through, right, just to get the finished product. And every single day, whether it's like you're saying you're going through practice or whatever, you go through, that's the suck of life. You have to go through the really hard parts. I think a lot of time people see the finished product and they say, man, this guy's having a well of the time. You see me traveling, you see me doing this, whatever. But I mean, the majority of the time, it's just, I really don't go out. I don't do anything. Everything I've set, I think from 21 years old till now, I haven't gone out. No girlfriends, no nothing, because I know I've set my goal since 19, 20 years old of where I want to be financially, physically, emotionally. So I'm willing to delay instant gratification for my long-term success. And anything after that, okay, it'll fall into place. Bonus, right? Mm-hmm. But until I hit those goals, what I've set in my mind is my goal, all that has to wait for me. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of the time you people might see that, that's a long-term deadline. But along that process, I set everything up in quarters, 3 to 6 months. Mm-hmm. Every 3 months is my quarter. How'd I do this one? Mm-hmm. Didn't do this? Let's adjust. Boom. That next quarter, doing boom, and continue to go. And I've done that for now 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. And it's for 10 years of not going out, not having the fun you would consider, I've turned all the things that aren't considered fun into enjoyable tasks for me, because of the gratification and the success I've gotten from it.
And that is so big, because I think people get wrapped up in the task that they start out thinking that it's going to be all fun and games, and then they get lost in how much work it actually is to get to that point. Right. And it just completely turns them off. And what goal or deadlines do for you as you establish these goals is they place a finite amount of time on all that shit that you have to go through to get to that finished product. Mm-hmm. So if you can wrap your mind around that concept and know that it's only going to suck for a certain amount of time, it makes it that much more palatable for you to go ahead and push through and get it done.
That I like that, and it's true. You have to own that whole idea that it is probably going to suck. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's not a rite of passage that, you're gonna put up and everything is gonna suck, because you can find different ways to enjoy yourself. But I read some sort of study that somebody was talking about, and they said that being optimistic is one thing, but it's like there's a realistic, optimistic side of it. So it's like when you set a goal, the people that do the best with the goals, this was done with a bunch of people. I don't know, it had to do with getting an extended education degree or whatever the case was, or taking on tasks. They knew that it was going to be challenging. And those were the people that did the best, is they knew that it was going to be worth it, but they knew that it was going to be challenging, and they had an idea of what to expect. It's impossible to say you're going to know exactly what to expect, but look around for people that have gone through with what you're trying to do, get in touch with them, and make sure that you can vibe with that and it resonates with you, because some task to some people is really unenjoyable, you might find a way to enjoy it. For instance, like with nutrition, like I enjoy the fascination at using ingredients that I think can I can put in my food, and I justify that that's going to make me healthier with each meal. So me cooking that and putting it in there is like, I'm a nerd. I'm thinking like, oh, this is kind of fun. I'm putting this in here. It's trial and error. I've found a way to enjoy that mundane part. The people are like, oh, I can't see cooking just for myself. Well, I put some music on. I find a way to enjoy the process. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. If you can get excited about those little things. And then my tip for really getting into action with this is start small. I don't tell myself I'm going to prep up every single meal that I'm going to do. I don't tell myself that I'm going to go out and do this big task. Start with something that's realistic that you can see the end to. So like, by the end of this week, I'm going to do 50,000 steps. Maybe that's not 10,000 steps every day. It gives you a day to maybe hit that up, but it gives you a full week to get 50,000, and your phone automatically keeps track of this. So now you know that that's a deadline. Once you hit it, there's like a week out. Now you can do something a little bit larger, maybe in a different field or whatever the case is. But let yourself know that you can do it, because some people maybe don't have that attached feeling that it's realistic. But if you can hit a day goal and then you can hit a week goal, then you can start hitting the bigger goals that have a lot more meaning to you. And then what that's going to do is now when you look at these little small weekly, monthly goals, you're like, that's nothing but a thing. I've already done that. I've done these bigger goals. I know for sure I have the ability to do it. And that's a way to, I think, build that confidence that you have, and then it makes it real, while increasing the value around, and then telling people about it. Make it public. Be the annoying person if you need to. If it has that much meaning to you, like who cares? Some people are going to think it's annoying, or they're not going to care a whole lot, but it's like, tell people if you know that it's going to hold you accountable.
Well, it's crazy because, the process by itself can be a motivator altogether. I'll never forget early on in the gym, during open gym, it was completely empty, and I'm in there mopping the floor, back and forth, all 5,000 square feet. Takes about an hour, right? And one of our members walks in, real savvy entrepreneur, has owned his own company, has owned various companies over the last 30 years, and he's a person that I look up to in business. And I got my headphones in, I'm just doing the work, going through it, hating life. And he taps me on the shoulder and he says, "Stay the course. It's part of the deal. I've been there." And that, to me, was a huge moment in my entrepreneurial career, because when you start a business, think about all the people you surround yourself with on a daily basis that work for someone else. And then you find yourself in a place where you're at the top of your ladder. The only person you're accountable to is yourself. So you're on, what we refer to as Entrepreneur Island, where you feel like you're the only one going through this shit. And then you have somebody that, you admire and look up to.
That's powerful.
Just validate your process and just reinforce that this is just part of the deal. This is the path that you chose. And, as cliche as it sounds, this too shall pass. And now we're in a place where, we can afford a cleaning crew to come in and do all that stuff. And, that moment just kind of put me in a mode where I need to get this business to a place where I'm not doing this shit anymore.
Yeah. Ooh, that's hot.
And it just expedited my process. The negative reinforcement of that mop, and then the positive reinforcement of, keep growing, and this will no longer be part of your routine. You can move on to more productive things. The combination of those two mediums really put me in the driver's seat, and forced me to take my business to another level, so that was no longer part of my regimen. So it comes at you both ways. The process by itself can, I know we speak about it in terms of the suck and the stuff that really has to be done, but you also have to understand that it's those pain points where, if the sense of gratification on the other side of that pain and frustration is greater than what you feel in that moment, it makes it all worth it.
Yes. And what makes it worth it is it's inside of you already. You know what I mean? And it's like, it is inside of you. I don't know, Yoda or somebody said something like this, but it's like you realize that when that deadline came or when you had to make those changes, it was in you. You just had to realize it and find that. And maybe it took somebody else that had been there before you letting you know that it was in you. But that's super cool to think about, that it's like understand that there's going to be those, the major speed bumps, the things that you're not going to enjoy doing or so on, but realize that there's people around you that and put yourself around those people if you need to. Again, we always talk about this, but it's like it's inside you already. It's there, and you'll find a way to bring it out.
I agree. Once you set a deadline, I believe too, I know we're running short on time, but you'll find that once you set that ultimate deadline, that's when the universe is going to test you to see how serious you are about, okay, this is your drop point. Let's see how serious you are. So you're going to get all these factors coming at you. And what I think, what we all consistently do, I could say, is once that situation happens, I never look at a situation as negative or positive. It's neutral, right?
Yep.
However you decide to make that situation, you'd have a choice to make it negative or you have a decision to make it positive. Make the decision to choose a positive path every single time, no matter how bad it looks for you. And then that makes the reinforcement that much easier to go through that task, right?
Yes.
Because you're going to have all these external factors coming at you, and everybody's like, man, I'm stressed. All this negative stuff happens to me. No, turn that into a positive sign that bigger things are to come towards you. You're blessed to have these situations coming at you. Now, not only do you have problems now, I look at problems as good things. Mm-hmm. How can every day I create more problems for myself that I can solve?
Right.
I'd rather have more problems than less.
Sure.
Because that gives me more leverage.
Because you know what deadlines do for you in terms of the creation of problems? They force you to be resourceful.
Right.
Yep. Yes.
And
that's the creativity.
Because, when it's, things are too far out in the future or, the goal isn't necessarily dialed in as much as it should be, there's a lot of waiting around and a lot of wasted energy that just goes into sitting on your hands. And you're not accountable to solving the problem. But as soon as you put a deadline on it, the closer you get to it, you start to scramble, you start to think outside the box, and you start to ask questions and reach out to people that you normally may not have felt that you needed to because you had so much time on your hands. But as soon as that deadline starts to creep up on you, it's like, okay, now you're forced to acknowledge some truths about your situation. You might not have it all together. You might not be as prepared as you thought you were. You might not have the resources as readily available as you thought you did. And now you got to get creative to meet that deadline and see it through to success.
That's true.
That's hot. I like it. And the final thing I want to add is just that you're gonna like Jeff said, it's neutral, all those situations, and instead of justifying like, man, this sucks right now, justify what's good about it. Justify and really think about that. You have the option to say, man, this sucks, I wish I could be doing this and that, but you have to challenge yourself to justify, to find the positive in it, of why you're doing it. I mean, remind yourself that you're making progress with what you're doing, but justify the positive about it, because here's what that's going to do. When you're positive about it, and you're going to attract that into your life. And it's a whole law of attraction, but it's the truth. If somebody says, hey, what's good, man? And you're like, oh, this sucks. Like, you're only going to find so many people that are going to join that pity party. Most people are going to be like, well, forget this. I'm going to go around somebody that's positive. And when you can justify the good, and you can be like, oh, I'm actually making some progress, this and that. People are like, oh, that's cool, and then they'll vibe with you. And then that will create energy. And that energy might be just what you need to fuel to get it done, and to give people that energy around them that they need. And if we're going to make the world a better place, it's like, be positive. That's what people need to see, is more positivity,
And just to wrap this up, I just want to share this personal story. So we got some big things coming up at the gym, and I'm just a really big idea guy. And so I walked in the gym this morning, and one of our members was in there getting ready to get his workout on, and I was like, hey, can I share something with you real quick? This is the move I want to make, but I'm not so sure it's the right one, blah, 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 blah. So I give it to him. I show him some of the material that I put together, And he was like, that's the best idea I've ever heard. I was like, really? He's like, when are you going to do it? I was like, I don't know, maybe next 9 months. And he was like, no. You need to move on this right now and put everything you have into it and let the chips fall where they may. But you can get this done in probably a third of that time. You need to make this not a 9-month goal, but a 90-day goal. And that's now I'm in a position where I've announced my intention, and whether, it's on his mind or not, I know that I've expressed that to him, and now I'm holding myself accountable to the discussion that we had. Whether he's reciprocating that responsibility or not, that accountability or not, isn't the point. Now I have a personal deadline to seek this thing through as far as I can in the next 90 days and see what comes out on the other side.
Boom. And just exactly what you're saying, to add to this, and what can you do to make that more likely? Can you bring somebody else about? If there's somebody else that feels as much of the same way that you do about that goal, bringing them on, is that going to make it more realistic that you'll get it done? And it might give you that faith that you need. So that's something to think about when it comes to a deadline. Is there somebody else that believes in it as much as you do, or can you seek somebody else that will buy into it? And that's going to make it that much more likely, and it's just reinforcing. And that's what's special about having a team or the people around you. But I like that you brought that up, because we need that. There's times where I doubt that a little bit, and like, damn, I don't know if I actually can get that done. But you have somebody that says, no, you can get that done.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, fam. Come on.
Get it done.
Talk,
really. Oh, yeah. So, to piggyback on previous shows, deadlines just add to the efficacy of your productivity in line with the people you surround yourself with, your network, and your work ethic. You combine all that stuff and you slap a deadline on top of it, and you'll be unstoppable, and just make that part of your routine. Like, goals are nothing without deadlines.
So close your eyes right now, unless you're driving, and think about what's a deadline that you're going to give yourself in the next week and a month. We won't go crazy if you want to add longer, but let's just think about that. In the next week, month, what's a deadline that you can do something that's easy, that's practical? Jeff, give us an idea of something you could do in a week, the deadline you can attach.
Oh, man.
On the spot.
On the spot.
Yep. Think about real life. What's something that you, in the next week, you want to get done that's realistic?
Man, that's a good question. Oh,
You're damn
man.
right it is. You're damn right it is.
Damn.
We'll come back to you.
Let me see.
Durs, next week, just something that somebody can do. Just an easy thing in their life that they can do. Something
in the next week, I'm going to make an effort to create my next networking event.
Okay.
In the next 7 days.
That's good.
That's a good question.
What are you going to do in the next 7 days, Jason?
In the next 7 days, I'm doing something. I'm committing to doing just a bold action. I want to put myself out there more of something that I overthink putting content out there sometimes of some of the things in my personal life as far as that I can be more vulnerable about, which I think can really help people. So I've committed to doing a couple like vlogging of like a day in the life of stuff that I'm doing. So I've committed in the next week to have a couple days edited and posted up on YouTube, which by this time will be up there. You can check this out, day in the life. So that's something that I can do. A challenge to other people. Like I said, 7 days, you get 50,000 steps. Your phone takes care of it. Go for 10,000 steps a day, maybe 2,000 steps before 8 a.m. or whatever. But that's something that is easy to tee up and something, a goal.
Nice. Okay. I think, mine is I'm working on this fitness app that we have currently. Mm-hmm. I've developed wireframes. Wireframes is just a model of how the app's going to flow. And the next action step I'd have to take is hiring my development team to actually get the process going instead of actually doing the coding myself.
Boom.
That's my.
By the time you listen to this, that team is going to be hired. App's in the works. So
that's it.
Ask yourself that same question, and let's take some action. Let us know. We love hearing feedback.
Yeah, if there's any content that we haven't discussed that you want to hear about, please get back to us. Leave a comment as well as a 5-star review, and we'll get back to you. And if you need help kickstarting that new lifestyle and increasing positivity or productivity, if not both, you can actually go to my personal website and thefeedmefuelme.com and pick up your copy of 30 Days of Motivation as well as the Affirmation of Manifestation. And it's a no shit day by day process that you'll go through for a month that will reprogram your brain to bring you to start playing at a higher level. So make sure you go check that out.
Let's get it done.
Yeah.
Got some cool guests to come up, so stay tuned. And until next time, check us out on all social, and we'll see you guys soon.
For sure. Episode 11. Out.
And that's a wrap. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, be sure to check out the full show notes and get connected with us at feedmefuelme.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to all of our social media on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter at feedmefuelme. We're looking forward to connecting with each and every one of you. If you found this episode inspiring in any way, please rate, comment, and subscribe so we can continue on this journey together. Also, share it with your friends on social media, including Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter, or any other social platforms that you use. We really appreciate you spending your time with us today and allowing us to join you on your journey. We'd love to hear your feedback on this episode and topics for future episodes as well. To end this episode, we would love to leave you with a quote by Napoleon Hill. A goal is a dream with a deadline. Thank you again for joining us, and we will catch you on the next episode.